I'm Ruth.
And I'm Darren.
Of the Rad Adventures Network.
And this is
Super Secret Spies.
Welcome to Super Secret Spies, where we talk about some of our favorite espionage TV shows, movies, and books.
The episodes in this series are short summary-level discussions, where we tell you what a title is about, who the main characters are, where it is set, when it was released and why we like it, and how we first discovered it.
This is a favorite genre of ours, and over the course of this show, we hope to talk about some of our all-time favorite characters, films, and TV shows.
Today, we're talking about the 1960s British TV series Danger Man, which is also known as Secret Agent. The series starred the always excellent Patrick McGoohan, and we hope you enjoy hearing our thoughts about the show.
Super Secret Spies is part of the Rad Adventures Network. If you enjoy the show, please consider checking out our other podcasts that are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Trekker Talk is a fan podcast devoted to the adventures of 23rd century bounty hunter Mercy St. Clair from the pages of the sci-fi comic Trekker by writer and artist Ron Randall.
Warlord Worlds is a fan podcast devoted to the comic creations of writer and artist Mike Grell, including The Warlord, John Sable, and Green Arrow.
And Xenozoic Xenophiles covers the series Xenozoic Tales by writer and artist Mark Schultz, featuring Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
But now it's time to talk about a super secret spy, right after this promo for another podcast you might enjoy.
Imagine a state where reality is a dangerous concept, where every aspect of public and private life is strictly controlled, where the voice of the state is the only voice, and the only limits are that of the imagination, and even that is gone. Imagine a state where memories are wiped away, leaving only traces of the past, where the final frontier of space becomes a weightless, freezing vacuum except for what is useful to the state. A great intergalactic state of hundreds of planets that stretches across the universe called the Federation. And imagine all that stands in the way of total conquest as a tiny band of thieves, smugglers, embezzlers, murderers, and rebel-rousers. Are they criminals or liberators? Reality is a dangerous concept, but everyone interprets it in a slightly different way in Blake 7. Catch the first episode and more at rightonnetwork.com. That is WRIGHT on network.com. Cheers.
Danger Man and Patrick McGoohan were dominant forces in the 1960s. The series ran on and off throughout most of the decade, and Patrick McGoohan became an international star because of the success of the show.
Danger Man premiered on ITV in the UK in September 1960, and 39 black and white episodes were produced over the next year and a half.
The series predated the first James Bond movie that was released in October 1962, and even predated The Avengers that premiered in January 1961.
This original version of Danger Man featured 30-minute episodes, so the series told fast-paced, no-nonsense stories that got into the action and adventure quickly.
You could always count on a quick setup of the plot and guest characters along with at least one fistfight and a satisfying wrap-up. And voiceover narration from star Patrick McGoohan helped the story move forward quickly, filling in any gaps needed for the short format.
In this series, Patrick McGoohan played Secret Agent John Drake, who we are told in the series is Irish-American, which matched the actor's ancestry.
As explained in the opening narration, while individual countries had spy organizations such as the CIA in the US and MI5 in the UK, John Drake worked for NATO, investigating problems and concerns for them around the globe.
John Drake was also a highly moral character with strong ethics that put him in conflict with his superiors, and Patrick McGoohan would revisit that dynamic in his follow-up series, The Prisoner.
The financial and practical restrictions of television production at that time meant filming was primarily done in the UK, but stock footage of international locations was used throughout the show to help establish the globe-trotting aspect of the series.
The pilot episode was written by series creator Ralph Smart, along with Brian Clemens, who would later be highly involved in The Avengers and its follow-up, The New Avengers.
Ralph Smart had previously worked as a writer and director on several popular 1950s adventure shows, including Robin Hood with Richard Greene, The Buccaneers with Robert Shaw, and Sir Lancelot with William Russell.
That first episode of Danger Man was set in Rome, and when producers needed an appropriate filming location, they used the picturesque tourist village of Port Merion in North Wales.
Port Merion made a big impression on Patrick McGoohan, and he would later revisit the location for his follow-up series, The Prisoner.
The initial series of Danger Man came to an end in January 1962. The series had been very successful in the UK and was purchased by CBS for broadcast in the US in 1961.
However, when CBS passed on co-financing additional episodes, the ITV network in the UK decided to end the series.
However, the popularity of the show continued to grow as the episodes were sold and broadcast in other markets around the world.
This led to a revival of the series by ITV in 1964, with a couple of small changes and one significant change.
The significant change was that the series was expanded to a full hour, meaning the series had the flexibility to tell more varied and more in-depth stories than the earlier half-hour format.
The other change was that John Drake was no longer an Irish-American working for NATO, but instead was working for the UK government. However, the types of missions and the story format remained unchanged from the earlier series.
This new version of the show premiered in October 1964, and 45 black and white episodes were produced until the series ended in April 1966.
2 final episodes were filmed in color in early 1967, but it was decided to end the series at that time, making way for a new and very different series called The Prisoner that was created and produced by Patrick McGoohan.
Those final 2 color episodes were cut into a feature-length movie and shown in theaters around the world, but were also shown as standalone episodes in the UK in January 1968.
In the US, the CBS network again purchased the new hour-long version of the series for broadcast, but CBS decided to change the title of the new series to differentiate it from the earlier show.
So in the US, the second series was renamed Secret Agent and featured a new theme song titled Secret Agent Man that was performed by 1960s pop star Johnny Rivers.
The song was a huge hit around the world, making it to number 3 on the Billboard charts.
The theme song features the phrase, "They've given you a number and taken away your name," which would be yet another story element that Patrick McGoohan would pursue in The Prisoner.
Both versions of the show were a huge success and made Patrick McGoohan an international star. The popularity of the original half-hour version of the series led film producers to offer him the part of James Bond for the first 007 movie, Dr. No, in 1962.
However, Patrick McGoohan turned down the offer, and the part went to Sean Connery. Later, when Sean Connery left the role, the 007 producers went back to Patrick McGoohan and offered him the role, but again he declined.
In both cases, Patrick McGoohan turned down the role for 2 reasons.
First is that he did not like the excessive use of guns in the James Bond books and films.
John Drake was intended to be a more realistic spy, who used intelligence, cunning, and investigation to conduct his missions, and while there were frequently fistfights, there was rarely any gunplay.
Patrick McGoohan preferred this type of thoughtful and methodical character compared to the more action-oriented James Bond, and McGoohan's opinion of firearms was even written into one of the scripts, when John Drake says, "They're noisy and they hurt people. Besides, I manage very well without."
However, the bigger reason was that Patrick McGoohan was a family man and a devout Catholic, and did not like the way women were portrayed in the 007 films, and he was completely opposed to playing a character who used intimacy and seduction as tactics.
However, there are still several similarities between Danger Man and James Bond. For instance, John Drake often introduces himself as Drake, John Drake.
Drake is also frequently seen using gadgets, though the gadgets were generally more realistic, and some were used repeatedly over the course of the series to illustrate they were both versatile and practical.
In a little bit of extra 007 trivia, James Bond creator Ian Fleming was brought in as an advisor early in the development of Danger Man, but left the project before filming began.
And Bond movie regulars Bernard Lee, Lois Maxwell, and Desmond Llewellyn would all guest star in episodes of Danger Man over the years, as would Honor Blackman, who also starred in The Avengers and the 007 film Goldfinger.
Following the success of Danger Man, Secret Agent, and The Prisoner in the 1960s, Patrick McGoohan moved to California in the 1970s, where he continued to work occasionally in film and television into the early 2000s.
While living in California, he and Peter Falk became very good friends and developed a mutual respect for each other.
Because of that, Patrick McGoohan made several guest appearances on Columbo over the years and won 2 Emmy Awards for the series, one in 1975 and another in 1990.
Patrick McGoohan also wrote and directed several episodes of Columbo, sometimes under his own name and sometimes using pseudonyms.
Patrick McGoohan also worked as an uncredited script doctor on many Columbo episodes, because Peter Falk felt he understood the series and was able to improve many of the scripts that Falk wasn't pleased with.
Besides being successful during the original run in the 1960s, Danger Man and Secret Agent remained popular in reruns and syndication for many years afterwards.
During the show's run in the 1960s, several novels were published based on the series, and there were also one-off comic books published by Dell and Gold Key.
And the series continued to be referred to in pop culture long after it ended.
For instance, Stephen King references the show in his novel, The Shining.
And the Secret Agent Man theme song was adapted and re-recorded by Devo in the 1970s, and was later used in the Austin Powers movie in the late 1990s.
And the popular British animated cartoon series Danger Mouse from Cosgrove Hall Films that starred David Jason is inspired by the show.
The series has been released on DVD by Network Entertainment in the UK, and in the US it was first released by A&E and later re-released by Timeless Media.
And the show can currently be streamed in the US on IMDb TV.
I guess we should now take a moment and share how we first discovered the series.
I always liked espionage TV shows like The Avengers, and movies like the James Bond series, and I read the books of John le Carré and Frederick Forsyth, so it's a genre I've always liked. I occasionally saw reruns of the series while I was growing up. I don't remember it ever being rerun on the broadcast channels where I lived, but I would see it when we would visit my father's family in the Washington, D.C. area, where we would often go for summer vacation.
And while I don't remember seeing the show growing up, I was also a fan of espionage stories, and when Darren and I were in graduate school together, we were happy to find reruns of the show airing on late-night TV. We would set up our VCR to record them so we could watch the episodes the next day.
And with that, we'll close out our coverage of Danger Man, aka Secret Agent.
You've probably noticed that we mentioned the follow-up series The Prisoner several times during this episode.
We'll be talking much more about The Prisoner in the next episode of Super Secret Spies, as well as providing some more background information about star Patrick McGoohan.
So we hope you'll come back for that episode of Super Secret Spies.
We sincerely thank you for listening and hope that you enjoyed our conversation. We'll be right back with our wrap-up and contact information right after this promo for another show you might enjoy.
It's Citizen Kane Minute! Hosted by film fanatic Rob Kelly and a collection of special guests, Citizen Kane Minute will examine the greatest film of all time, 5 minutes at a time. Coming soon to the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Before we go, we want to provide our contact information.
You can write to us directly at radadventuresnetwork@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram under the name Rad Adventures Network.
That's RAD, R-A-D, which is short for Ruth and Darren.
You can listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or Spotify.
You can even find the show on YouTube under Rad Adventures Network.
And you can always visit radadventuresnetwork.com, where you'll find all of the episodes of all of our podcasts, including our main shows, Trekker Talk, Warlord Worlds, and Xenozoic Xenophiles, as well as our other podcasts, including Sensational Sleuths, Fantastic Fantasies, and Continental Comics.
If you like the show, please consider leaving a review. While you won't find a specific place to review Super Secret Spies, we hope you'll leave a review under Rad Adventures Network. Every review helps the podcast be more likely to show up in search results.
And on YouTube, we hope you'll subscribe to the channel and give us some likes on the videos.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll come back next time for another episode of Super Secret Spies.
Rad Adventures Network is a proud member of the Comics Podcast Network. For more information, please visit comicspodcast.com. The theme music is Impossible Mission and is licensed from pond5.com. We make no money from this podcast and no copyright infringement is intended.